Well, happy Saturday, folks. The Real Captain Kirk here. We're live from One Bethlehem Plaza here in downtown Bethlehem, Pennsylvania here, the 26th of October, 2024 here. We are nearing peak fall color here in the Lehigh Valley of eastern PA here. You can see outside the office windows here the vibrant colors. Again, drought years. Again, we've been one of the driest in history here. September, October, many areas across the country have been that dry. But again, that tends to make the leaves sometimes go in stages. But the good news is it does tend to pop to color. And again, we're probably peaking here about maybe upwards of 10 days earlier than last year. So again, just a view outside the office here today. If we look at the hurricane season wrapping up here, we've got about 35 days. We've got a month left. We're in an MJO cycle that will stop the Atlantic, shut it down as it's doing right now. But that's going back into a very favorable period pulse here, MJO pulse, as we get into early November. So we think we're probably going to see 2-3 systems for sure. Now again, we only had 3 landfalling hurricanes in the last 174 years in November. So again, the odds are very low of being hit, but there is a system worth watching that for sure gets close to the Bahamas, maybe Puerto Rico and those areas. So again, need to watch it because we're not out of the woods. So it's going to end up being above average on every front, and for sure on the landfalling hurricanes 5 here in the U.S. Look at the fall summer here again, September, October, going into November here. We've had a few good periods here for retail seasonal sales. Again, back in September, it started off great. We had some of the coldest conditions over 40 years here in the Northeast, that 2 through 11 September period. Then a milder pattern, a brief blip of colder, wetter weather there in late September, early October. And then this past weekend here in the Northeast, we've actually, after a very, very hot week, coldest in 6 years here this weekend. So pretty chilly here, but again, short-lived, get another heat wave, and then signs of a change here, signs of actually a pattern shift here. You can see it reflected in this jet stream pattern here. So we watch the 14-day forecast here. You see the Pacific high pressure system breaking down, and you also see the Bermuda high in the Atlantic breaking down as we get this what's called the negative PDO phase. Again, you got cold water up toward Alaska and then warm water down below that, and the jet stream somewhere in the middle, and that's why you see these big, huge storms heading for Alaska, Canada. And then, so this is, again, probably breaking down the dry, warm pattern we've been in here September, October. So signs of hope here as we get into probably maybe the second week of November, third week of November, getting into some colder patterns and maybe more frequent rain, which we all desperately need here in the U.S. Look at last week's summer here, ending here today, 26th of October here in the U.S. Flip-flop from a colder week last week to a warmer week this week. 0.5 warmer than last year, makes it the #1 hottest in 39 years nationally. 78% drier than last year, #1 driest in 39 years. So hot, dry is good for those consumable cold beverage categories, in-dining restaurant, home centers, definitely with outdoor construction can just go crazy here with this kind of weather here, but not great for seasonal fall merchandise sales. So again, hope here as we get into early, middle November. Cooler, wetter spots actually over toward Asia, which is typical. This is kind of a La Nina cycle. So if it's warmer, drier here, it's probably cooler, wetter somewhere else over toward Asia. We look at this week here again, getting into the first 2 days of November. This will be the end of the Q3 for most retailers here. Here in the U.S., a hot week after a really cold week last year. 10.6 warmer than a year ago, warmest in 8 years, second hottest in 39 years. Seeing some cold weather there, moving into the western part of the country, western third of the country here. Rainfall up a bit, 17% wetter than last year, wettest in 3, still 17th dry, so hair below average. But look at all that rain in the Texas into New England here, and snow in the Rocky Mountains, so in the heavy rain in the Pacific Northwest. So again, signs of the pattern breaking down here, which is good news. We desperately need some rain and a shift in this cycle. Look at the 6-day snowfall trends here, getting us through the 31st of October here. Looks like a lot, and it is in the high elevations of the Rocky Mountains and the Sierras. Again, so decent snow for the very, very, very high elevations, but only about 9% of U.S. population impacted by this, and still 87% below the very snowy end of October last year. It was actually one of the snowiest in decades last year. So again, looks like a lot, but not much where people live. And this snowfall index puts it in perspective here. Again, 87% less than last year, 18th least in 39 years, and again, about 9% of the population. This chart here shows the winter season last year. So again, we had that very, very heavy snow in early October, or actually late October, early November, and then not much. That was it, and then nothing until mid-January, another pulse in mid-February, and another one there in late March. And then again, we're starting the season here in the chart far, far right here. So a blip, again, up, but again, still not much. We do think that December is going to be a pretty snowy month here in the U.S. overall. So again, we'll probably get about a 4-week earlier start to the snow season than, the heart of the snow season here than compared to middle January last year. Look at next week again through 9th of November here. U.S. about 2.0 degrees warmer than last year, 6 warmest in 39 years. Very wet. Look at that. 165% wetter than last year, 16th wettest in 39 years, and above average. Again, Texas to New England. We'll take it. Again, we've had wildfires even in Connecticut, some big ones. So again, desperately need this rain. So this is definitely some good news. A little misleading here because there's a cool front right around the day, which we're not supposed to talk about here, but around the 5th of November, there's a cold front going through the U.S. Don't forget, next week, hard to believe here, but we're coming up quick on the end of daylight savings time. So 3 November, you fall back. And again, this is the weather for the robots that we can't talk about. You can see here what we're chatting about. But so again, cold front going from Texas into New England, and you can see that potential Hurricane Patty off the southeast coast toward the Bahamas. Hopefully makes that right turn. Let's hope. Again, models have been hinting at what this thing could do, but kind of reminiscent actually of Sandy. But again, let's hope this model's right, that it looks like it'll make a right turn and stay off the U.S. coast here. So again, this is the forecast for the big day on the 5th of November. We look at the world 2-week outlook here, again, just aggregating these trends here. So warm, again, starting to break down, we think, as we get into mid-November in the North America. Still a little bit coolish there in Central Europe, and very cool up there and wet. Wet means this time of year, a lot of snow up there in Northeast Siberia, and they've had a ton. So the good news is when you have a lot of snow in Siberia in October, you tend to have some downstream impact here in the United States, Canada, of some colder, snowier potential weather as you get into the winter months. Preset map versus average inset left there. Again, these are just the aggregate rainfall, snowfall trends. Again, a lot of purple and whatnot. Those are over 18 inches of snow across Alaska, Canada, Greenland, and all across Siberia. So that, folks, we hope you have a great week ahead here, and we will be back here again this time next week.